America is not who we used to be, and certainly the Democratic Party is not. The American left has taken a very hard turn on Israel. People like Ilhan Omar, Cornel West, Bob Avakian, they have used their spotlight to push for BDS boycott and divestment and sanctions against Israel. Now, you'd think that there would be very little support in this country for that, but those who do support it, again, are not hiding it anymore. I want to show you a picture of a group of people heading to Ilhan Omar's office. She was condemned for anti-Semitism on the floor. This is her walking into her office. This is Linda Sarsour there. But the man on the right is Nihad Awad, the director of CAIR and the Council of on American Islamic Relations. Again, when I first saw this, I thought it was more evidence of infiltration, but I believe it's integration, not infiltration. I told you earlier that 2014 was a very big year for this budding relationship. I want to show you a speech by the CAIR director at the Muslim America Society's annual convention right after Ferguson. Listen.
African Americans and Latinos, we have to help those people in their causes because their causes are our causes. Black Lives Matter is our matter. Black Lives Matter is our campaign.
What does a Marxist organization in America have to do with an American Islamic relation? Why did they declare that this Marxist movement is their campaign? Well, as it turns out, BLM and CAIR have been organizing all over the country. This is a BLM protest with CAIR in Florida. Here's another one recently in New York City.
Resistance is justified from New York to Palestine. To Minnesota. Globalize the Intifada.
Wow. Globalize the Intifada. That is remarkable to hear on our streets, and no one say anything about it. The video I just showed you and the one I showed you at the beginning of the show, the revolution was spread all over the Middle East and Europe, and it is now here in the United States, and it will not fail unless we begin to stand, unless there's someone in Washington that is actually looking for the answer. I'm sorry, but Attorney General Barr, what more do you need? Here's the roadmap. Here's what's happening on our streets. When will we see any action? The conference was called the U.S. Campaign to End the Israeli Occupation, and it was organized by the International Solidarity Movement, the ISM. They were also behind the Gaza Flotilla, which we talked about earlier, the group that included Bill Ayers and Noam Chomsky. The FBI has been investigating them for years. Several of their members have been caught associating with terrorists in Gaza. That includes 3 terrorists involved in a suicide bombing in Tel Aviv that killed 3 people and injured 55 more. Now, a key feature of BDS and how to co-opt other movements in the United States, right here. Some of the key speakers were people like Cone and National Lawyers Guild, the International Association of Democratic Lawyers. These 2 organizations, to put it bluntly here, are communist front groups. This report to Congress says it pretty clearly. Quote, "The National Lawyers Guild is the foremost legal bulwark of the Communist Party, its front organizations, and controlled unions." So let me make this absolutely clear. Communist partisans here in the United States were speaking to an anti-Israel activist group on how to co-opt other movements. Some of the movements represented by immigration activists like Gabrielle Shivoni. Here he is back in 2011 discussing involvement in the Gaza flotilla. Watch.
I will be traveling on the flotilla and U.S. boat to Gaza with a diverse group of people from around the country and the world. Meanwhile, a fellow SJPer from the University of Chicago, Sami Kishawi, is currently in Gaza City and will be among those to welcome and receive the flotilla on the shores of Gaza. Another aspect under which I sail is my political humanitarian work along the Arizona-U.S.-Mexico border, where the human remains of more than 6,000 people have been recovered since 1994, a result of lethal border militarization policies imposed by the U.S. government.
At least you're not surprised. This is verification of something else I have told you in the last couple of years. When they were headed towards the border, our southern border, I told you what they really wanted was a Gaza-Israeli border kind of scenario, the flotilla, with U.S. soldiers firing on people approaching. See if it sounds familiar. When discussing how anti-Israel activists could co-opt with U.S. Leftists on immigration, they suggested, quote, utilizing the people from both BDS and immigration groups would be to coordinate riots as likely occurring every Friday in the villages of the West Bank in the Holy Land to happen at the same time with similar ones at the U.S.-Mexican border to point out the need for BDS. Unbelievable. This is all connected, and it's all right here, Washington. A week after the conference, an email was sent out by one of the national leaders calling for, quote, a Palestinian contingent to be sent to Ferguson to try and make the rioting and Brown killing part of the BDS agenda and connecting it to work for Palestinian rights by linking it with other movements for justice, even the environment, end quote. One of the contingents appears to be fellow ISM member and another representative of the National Lawyers Guild, Max Schuhan, who was arrested in Ferguson for allegedly taking part in the rioting. Max claimed that he was just a legal observer and targeted by the police, but Ferguson police claimed they were, quote, outside agitators inciting the crowd. As highlighted in Moment magazine, in November 2014, a delegation of 10 Palestinian students from the West Bank traveled to Ferguson and St. Louis in order to link up with Black Lives Matter. 2 months later, Black Lives Matter sent a delegation of their own to the Middle East. This is where your money is going, America. It included the Black Lives Matter co-founders, other community organizers, and CNN's Mark Lamont Hill. Just 3 days later, Lamont Hill would be at the UN, not to talk about black lives, but Palestinian lives. From the river to the sea.
Grassroots action. Local action, and international action that will give us what justice requires. And that is a free Palestine from the river to the sea. Thank you for your time.
So you know, in case you don't, from the river to the sea means the Jordan to the Mediterranean, which means there is no Israel. It is a call for annihilating all of the Jews and the destruction of Israel. Now, maybe that was just a slip-up. Maybe this BLM supporter just didn't know what he was saying. After all, what on earth does an Islamic anti-Semitic catchphrase have to do with Black Lives Matter? I'm sure it was a mistake.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Palestinian lives matter! Palestinian lives matter! From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free! From the river to the sea!
This is Black Lives Matter here in the United States 2 weeks ago. In the summer of 2015, a solidarity statement was drawn up by both the anti-Israeli groups and Black Lives Matter supporters. The signatories included former Black Panther and Communist Party USA member Angela Davis, Cornel West, and BLM co-founder Patrisse Cullors. The evidence is all here. It is clear. The radical left from the 1960s have raised the radical youth of today. The communists, the anarchists, the radicals have now teamed up with the Islamists to further their revolution. This is a plan that was laid out years ago. All of the same people, the organizations and events over the past decade are now all lining up, and they are nearing their end game. Imagine what happens next if Joe Biden becomes president. He was part of the White House when all of this was laid into stone. Step one is for you to help get the word out. This is critical. We have been doing that. We have been making sure this information gets to so many people as possible. I know you have as well. Call the White House. It is all clear. Most of the young people marching with BLM have no idea about any of this. They must see the evidence. They are marching to a catchphrase, not an ideology. The ideology is death. We have to make sure that exposing their plan and ideology is louder than any phony catchphrase.